So everyone, I know I've talked up Arnauld all week, but he is the Senior Director of Sales for Central Regions and for Canada. And so you might be like, okay, well, we're like East, but it's just because he loves us so much. So that's why he's on the call. No, but seriously, he's one of my favorite people from corporate. He always asks me how George is doing. And, you know, we met through Chris at one of Chris's parties down in Texas and then at the All-Stars event. And, you know, he did a few calls for Team Pan, and he's always brilliant and has such great things to share with us. So we're very lucky to have him. And without further ado, go for it.
Man, I feel like a number one pick who's got a lot of like accolades that's got to live up to all that they say about them. So good luck to me. Hey, I'm going to jump in. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Ryan, for having me. Thank you, team, for having me. So I wanted to jump in and just share, you know, with the team a little bit of a personal experience and talk about the Team Cup. So I'm really not going to go into Team Cup until the end. I think that everybody understands the importance of Team Cup. I'll certainly emphasize it, okay, Joan? And so I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but I think before we even talk about Team Cup, we've got to just talk about where we just came from. You know, obviously Summit in Nashville. I think Summit was a first for most of you. And so for those of you that were there for the first time, congratulations for really taking the time and investing in yourself and sacrificing time away from your family. We take that very seriously. Summit, essentially, the moment Summit is done, we're already planning for next year's Summit. And so I don't know if you guys have heard the numbers, but we've got 25,000 obviously already sold out and 15,000 on the waiting list. And so, and we're going to have all the success starters. And so it's going to be, you thought this year's Summit was huge. Next year's is just going to be that much bigger, better. And we certainly learned a lot as we put it for the first time in a stadium. The crazy thing about Summit, most of you guys are, you know, new. And so I was here about in 2011 when I'm going to move around. The light is hitting me at funny angles here. In 2011, that Summit had like 2,500 people. And we had like 30 employees. And we were sitting there going, geez, what do we do next? It's like there's nothing to do. And now we probably slept maybe 3-4 hours. It was around the clock, and there was about 350 of us there, and it still felt like it was just a huge undertaking. So we do all that because we understand how much you sacrifice and kind of the things that you go through to be where you are, to be recognized and to change so many people's lives. And so what I'm going to talk about today, we just came off of like this high, right? Like we're at Summit, and then we had Super Saturday, Friday, Monday, Sunday, whatever, you know, event you went to. So we're all pretty pumped right now. And so what I wanted to talk about today is the reason why I think that the most important thing that you could be doing is you know, being not only a team captain, if not a team captain, a team member, and participating in the cup, but also pushing as many people as possible. But I want to talk about where the rubber meets the road. And so can you see my slide? Okay, I want to make sure that you can see my slide. Okay. So I want to talk about where the rubber meets the road. And it was this for me. For those of you that are runners, this might look familiar. It's the mile marker 18. And at the New Leader Conference earlier this year, I shared in front of, you know, a couple hundred coaches that I was going to be a 2015 marathon finisher. And so when I was there sharing it, got like, you know, the comfy vest on, I'm just like hanging out with a bunch of friends, and I'm sharing what my goal is, much like most of you did after Summit, right? Okay, many of you right after Summit, you're like, I'm going to be an elite coach, and I'm going to be a premier coach. And you know what? I'm going to be a millionaire. And guess what? All those are valid goals that you should have, that you ought to have, that you ought to push other people to have, but that and that you should go for. But you need to understand the reality of this mile marker 18. And so we're back home now, and we're starting to implement everything that we learned at Summit, Super Saturday over the weekend. in our mastermind and all that stuff. But at mile marker 18, so previous to running this, if I were to back up, previous to running this marathon, I had never run more than 3 miles. And so you can imagine saying, yeah, I'm going to run a marathon. And actually that came from a coach challenging me to run a marathon. And I don't back down from challenges. So I said, I'm going to try it out. And for those of you that have run marathons, you know how your first marathon goes. And maybe you had a better marathon than I did, but I trained for 2.5 months. I was supposed to train for 4 months. And mile marker 18, okay, we had just passed the half point mark. We had just passed 13 miles. And here's what Doug Moss, he's the regional director over the West. This is what we were doing and posting to our Facebook. Of course, we work with coaches. You've got to post a selfie, otherwise it never happened. And so we're feeling pretty good about ourselves, right? It's like, oh, halfway there, we're good. Mile marker 16, we grabbed a bunch of oranges and drank a lot of water, because by that time it was about 11 a.m. The sun was coming out and, was pretty high up there, not quite as high as above us. And we're coming down this canyon, just beautiful. And we're looking around. We're feeling pretty good about ourselves. 2 miles later, mile marker 18, I cramped up to the point where I couldn't walk. I forget about running. Doug, and, I'm going to have to apologize to him, but he was just throwing up. All those oranges that he took and bananas, he was just, those terrible sounds, right? And he's just going, I'm like, dude, you're going to die. Are you all right? And I'm like holding my legs and I'm dying and it's hot. And I'm going, why am I putting myself through this? Let me pause for a moment. Do you ever work with someone and you've got all your hopes in that person and you're doing one-on-one calls and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden they're in the witness protection program. You cannot get a call back. You can't get a text back. You're like, what happened? That kind of feels like mile marker 18, right? Or maybe you've got, you're like a diamond coach and this is like your one-star diamond coach that you're about to hit. Maybe it's never happened to any of you, but that one person, your best friend that you grew up with, just totally disses you and says, you're wasting your time. This is a bunch of BS. I have no idea what you're doing, right? That's a lot like mile marker 18, where the rubber meets the road is when you're going to be tested the most in your quest to go premier, to quest to be an elite coach, in your quest to be a millionaire, whatever your goal is, right? Your goal doesn't have to be John and Ryan's, or Kat or Kelly's or anybody on this call. It's got to be your goal, right? But on the way to achieving those goals, trust me, you're going to be tested. Matter of fact, when you're coming off a summit, you're so excited, you get a few people saying, yes, I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to be an elite coach. And I suckered these two guys into running with me. I'm like, Kim, dude, let's do this. Doug, let's do this, right? And it's good. It's good that people join you. It's good that your energy is so contagious that you bring people out. That's the power of an event where the emotion is high and you're just so focused. It's best to share with people because there's going to be people that just join you purely based on your emotion, purely based on your excitement, right? Now, there's some that actually signed up and didn't show up. This was the day before the marathon race. And you're going to have some people that say, yes, I'm going to do this. And the day of signing up, the first day of your challenge group or whatever, Dash to Diamond, they disappear. It's okay. Run with the willing. So I ran with the willing. And that was Doug Moss and Kim Carver, my good buddies here. So here I am, and it's mile marker 18, and this is when I start questioning myself. And I start really going, why am I doing this? Some of you had doubts. And I remember sitting down with Joan and Kat. It was actually in Dallas at Chris and Cody Reed's house, and we went over a bunch of stuff. By that time, they were hitting that momentum. They were probably at mile 13, taking selfies, feeling pretty good about themselves by then, right? Because the questions that they were asking were not those of people that are doubtful. They're like, oh, I'm going there, and I know where I'm going. And I'm going to take people with me, and I'm going to build a team, and look at where they are now. Obviously, it's helped, right? But maybe and I guarantee they had questions, they had doubts, right? They had their mile marker 18s. And the reason why that they are where they are is because they've gone over so many mile marker 18s that it doesn't faze them that much. They understand that it's just part of the business. That's part of like what it takes for them to get where they need to be, right? And so when I'm asking myself all those questions, I'm going, is this even worth it? I was literally to the point of reaching to some of the volunteers on the side and saying, you know what, can you just take us down? Because this guy's about to die. I can't walk. So, I mean, let's just be rational. Just take us there. Just take us there. We've done 18. We've given it a good go. And that's good enough, right? And so you might be in that position. I spoke with someone today that if it wasn't for the Cancun trip, she was done. She was out. And she comes back from the Cancun trip, double advances from diamond to two-star diamond because of being around other people. And to me, that's what the Team Cup does. You get around other like-minded people that truly understand the struggle, but also the best parts. Because there's going to be both good and bad parts to all this, right? So let me ask you this question: is this worth it to you? Is this something that you're willing to go through mile marker 18? You're willing to live that reality, okay? Is this something that you absolutely feel that you can do? Then if it is, take the emotion out of it, okay? Because many times we're so excited and we're like pumped and all that, and it's great. Look, I got 2 suckers to join me because I was so excited. But after the excitement fades, then you got to get back to just the nitty gritty, and that's power hours, and that's the Team Cup. It's just removing the clutter, removing the emotion, and really treating it like a business, right? And saying, I'm going to do this regardless of what I have to do, regardless of the obstacles that I go through, okay? Because you see, you are where you are, and then there's this gap, right? And you've seen this thing before where this is here, you here, and you're here. And you have an option, okay? You have a couple options of how to approach that. You can go the nice and steady route, or you can just bite the bullet and run like a bat out of hell, okay? And let me tell you why I like running like a bat out of hell. Is the faster I go, the closer I am to there, for one. 2, the faster I go, the more I go over these mile marker 18s, the more I'm going to cross the headache, the pure torment, the nightmare that is that stretch of mile 18, so that I know after that, once I pass mile 18, then I can move on to 19 and then figure out if I can run 7 more miles. Because that was a block. That was a wall that I hit. And every one of us hits a wall, right? And the faster I go, the more confident I become. Because if I can get over mile marker 18, then I pretty much go, dude, like my buddy is like almost dead here. I can barely walk. If I can go through this, then I can go through anything, right? And so we're sitting there literally for like a good 5 minutes asking ourselves, where do we go? And we can go either way, right? And so here's what it means for you. If I were to revert back to you as a coach, I'm preaching to the choir about mile marker 18. Some of you though might not have hit your mile marker 18. Consider yourself warned. Okay, you're gonna hit this wall, and you're gonna feel like throwing up. You're gonna feel like cramping up all over the place. You can't walk anymore. When you do, remember this: you need to manage yourself. At the end of the day, whether it's a success partner or Joan and Ryan and Summit and Super Saturday, you need to get to a place where only you can make that decision. It's so easy. Take you back to here, okay? This was so comfortable. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be an elite coach. I'm going to be a 2015 marathon finisher. Insert your picture on this slide and say, I'm going to be, right? That's comfy. You're just among friends. You haven't hit mile marker 18. But the first time you hit an obstacle, that's when you need to manage yourself, right? So in those moments is really what dictates whether you finish the race and influence a ton of other people to do it, or you're done and you can just talk about 0 to 18. And you can never say that I finished a marathon. that I became a 2-star diamond, that I pushed myself and I became a premier coach or an elite coach, or, you know, a 9-star diamond and a 15-star diamond. You have to manage yourself. Like nobody else in that moment. First of all, Doug couldn't talk, right? So I wasn't going to be talking to him. So I had to go into myself, right? So I'll tell you what I did. I went to a track because I had a bunch of tracks, like, you know, music tracks all over the place. And what I did is I actually went to my favorite track because it got me just really focused. And so whatever that is for you, you need to find that. Do you need to step away from your house, go to your local Starbucks and just focus in for 2 hours and get back in the swing of things? Do you need to go do that favorite workout to get to just dust off all those cobwebs and get your mind right again? I don't know. For me, it was just listening to that music, to that track, just got me back focused. And all of a sudden, I started getting into the zone. You need to manage yourself. Number two, let me move this. I don't know if you can see this, but it's about doing hard things at inconvenient times. It was the worst of times. Like the last thing I wanted to do is to run some more. I could have been done right there and been satisfied and said, I'll give it another try later, or I'm done. I've already run 18 miles. You have to do the hard things, not because you enjoy them. Trust me, like I wasn't enjoying the running. I'm not a runner. I look like a runner. I'm not a runner. I'm short distance. Okay, give me like a couple yards stop. That's why I like soccer. It's like go, stop, right? Not run, monotone, boring. Sorry for you guys that are runners and gals that are runners. I just for the life of me can't understand it, could never understand it. And so it's about doing the hard things at inconvenient times. You can never expect, first of all, you can never expect the right time, and you can never expect to be doing the right things at the right time. You're going to be doing sometimes the wrong things at the right time, and that's okay. That's all part of your learning. But the toughest by far is doing the hard things at the most inconvenient times. When I can't walk, when maybe you've got a full-time job. Maybe some of you have, you know, a toddler. I have a toddler. I mean, it's pretty much crazy, right? Like maybe, you know, you had to work overtime. Maybe you've had an injury. All of us are going through something. Every single one of you on this call are going through something. You're going through something. There's something that could hold you back. And you need to decide whether it's worth it for you to push through that, knowing that once you go above and beyond that, you're going to actually reach some unbelievable goals that are going to make you proud of yourself, but also help your team follow you better, or you're just going to be comfortable, right? You got to choose the two. You can't be successful. You can't be comfortable. So you got to make that decision, right? And the last thing here is intensity. And Carl alluded to that, right? He talked about intensity. You have to be intense. You have to, when you're feeling like giving up, when things are just not working, be intense for spurts, for some spurts, right? Like what that means is, you know, you guys understand HIIT training, right? I mean, it's up and down, don't rest too long, up and down, don't rest too long, right? And working for Carl Dackler, I understand that more than anybody else, right? Is the way that he drives is every single one of us the way we drive, right? And he's the whole speed of the leader, speed of the team. And what he does is, you know, he allows for some downtime. Someone was telling me if I ever sleep, it's like, yeah, you know, who cares about sleep? I'll sleep when I die. I love what I do, right? And so I really drive hard, but I do allow myself sometimes to rest, because otherwise I just wouldn't be effective doing what I do. And so allow yourself some time to rest, but don't allow too much of time, meaning you've got to build momentum. The worst thing that I could have done is actually stop for those 5 minutes. Trust me. I don't care if I had cramps. Stopping was really hard, because you know what was even harder? Getting started again. Like once you've ran for 18 miles, and you know, I see some runners on this call. Once you've ran for 18 miles, your muscles like you can't feel your legs anymore. And in my case, I was just cramping up. But then the worst thing is inertia. Inertia, when you're sitting there, it's like your legs are like, now it's like you might as well pour concrete around my legs and keep them there. Because even taking one step was really, really hard, right? If I had done 1 minute, it wouldn't have been as hard. I did 5 minutes. So what that means for you, look at what he means for you. What does that mean? Don't wait a week, because a week turns into 2 weeks and 2 weeks turn into a month. And pretty soon you go, I'll hit Success Club 5 next month. I'll be okay, right? But guess what? It's going to be extremely hard to hit something that you were doing consistently before, right? So be sure that when you take the rest, remember in your mind, I've got to build on this momentum. I can't lose the momentum that I've worked so hard to build. Okay. So think about that. Okay. I would then ask you, for you, what are your mile markers? Okay. So think about those. We all have them. We all have those. And you have distractions, by the way, that make you look left and right. And then you have those mile markers. The distractions will just kind of take your attention away. In my case, it was like people that I would never expect to pass me, passing me, or looking around, because it's beautiful out here. It's in the middle, it's in Utah. We're running down the Provo Canyons, Rocky Mountains, and it's just beautiful for those of you that are from here or have been here. It's just God's country, just unbelievable. And you're just looking left and right, and people are actually taking pictures and stuff like that. So what is that for you? Is that, looking around and getting on a national wake-up call and going, that's what I need to do. That's going to be my answer, and changing everything about what you do, right? Or going to a Super Saturday and they do the recognition and maybe forget to mention your name, and you get really upset, and for a week to 2 weeks you don't do anything, right? That's another distraction. What I'm talking about here is the hard mile markers, the thing that are going to stop you, right? And again, ask yourself, is it worth it to get to where I am? And I'm going to talk about where I ended up, and hopefully I'll kind of show you why it was worth it. Okay. We finished. And to this day, every time I see this picture, it gives me goosebumps. After mile 18, once I put on that music, boy, I was just dialed in. And at mile 20, Jeff Hill actually came up and was riding his bicycle, and he rode right by me. When you're focused, all of a sudden, when you're in the zone, then it's almost like the universe conspires to help you achieve your goal. Jeff Hill didn't need to come over. I mean, it's like we're all busy all the time, and he didn't need to come over. All of a sudden, he comes over. He's on his bike. He's right alongside Doug and I. And at that point, I just focused on the mechanics. I just focused on putting one leg in front of the other. And I wasn't looking right. I wasn't looking left. I was just focused in, right? And one of the things that I promised this coach that had challenged me to run a marathon was I was not only going to finish a marathon, but I was going to finish strong. And with about 2 miles left, I just told Doug, I need to finish strong, because, Doug obviously finished, but I needed to finish strong. I needed to prove to myself that I'm going to finish standing up, that I'm going to raise my arms in the air. All this stuff I actually had visualized. And with at mile 24, I just took off and I just finished strong, right? That was worth it. So worth it that I've told myself I'm actually going to get 10 other people to run a marathon with me. And so far I've got 6 people that have committed to run a marathon. See, what happens is when you're excited, like I was, sharing the goal, you get a few people. A few people will join you just because of your excitement. When you're excited and you finish and you prove to yourself that you can absolutely do it, whether it's diamond or a 1-star, all of a sudden, like, the numbers double and triple. And people believe you, not what you just say, but what you did. The proof is in the pudding, right? Now I've got 6 people that had, 2 of them had run a marathon. The other, they had never run a marathon. Do you think that you have to explain to people what it is that you do? Do you have doubters? Do you have haters? Do you have people that just are asking you, are you still doing that Beachbody thing, right? And the best thing you can do is nothing about what you say to them. It's what you do. It's what you prove to yourself. And all of a sudden, I've got 6 people, and I'll be darned if I don't get 10 people, right? I'll be darned if I don't get 10 people to run a marathon by the end of this year. And by the way, I've signed up for another race. This time a half marathon. I'm not that crazy, okay? I signed up for a half marathon. I'm going to run in September. And next year I'm going to run another marathon. So do it. So run and close the gap. The way you're going to do it, it's Team Cup. You've got to get back into the basics, the mechanics that I just told you about, that I ran from really mile 19 to the end. You got to get back to the mechanics. That's what Team Cup does. The only kind of extra things are the prizes and all that stuff. And yeah, you can do it for the prizes, but to me, I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking, what are you doing this for? It's not for the prize, although it's pretty cool to get a selfie stick and, you know, and branded logo gear and all that stuff. I'm thinking long term for you. What are you in it? What are you in this for, right? And Team Cup, to me, what it does, it will just help you catapult you to the end of the year, right? You think about the fact that I ran those final 2 miles and I finished strong. So let me tell you just straight up, I don't care what you've done up to this point. What I care about now is, what do you do from August to the end of the year? That's how you finish. How you finish makes the big difference. If you finish makes a big difference. How you finish makes even a better difference for those that are following you. So I'm going to ask you, get organized, get your teams ready, get into a Team Cup and run. And keep running and focus on the fundamentals. Run because it's not only a challenge for yourself, but it will be something that you cherish, like Joan, when you see her grabbing her elite guitar. That's something that moment right there, okay, that moment right there, you see all those mile markers 18 and they're dissipated. They're not even there. She's in the moment. She's so glad that she ran. She's so glad that she put up with some of you. I know some of you were difficult for her to work with, right? It's like, yes, I'm going to get to Diamond, but I'm going to go on vacation for 2 months first, right? It's worth it. It's worth it. Run because you're going to be celebrated. Run because you're going to get to hang out with other like-minded people that even have a clue. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, you know what? We've made it here. We're at Summit. We're in Nashville. All of us are here, and we've made the sacrifice to be here, and now we're enjoying it. You see smiley faces on this picture. What you don't see are the sacrifices that so many of you that are on this had to make to be in Nashville at Summit. I recognize that, and I appreciate that, and I respect that. Run because you've made the sacrifice. You were at Celebration, and it is worth it. I mean, think back at this moment. Some of you are on this picture, right? Think back to this moment. Was it worth it? You want to be back in this moment and then walking on that stage next year at Summit in front of God knows how many people, right? Run because you get to be around other people and get to really just truly enjoy life like you'd never have before. Because this business will really, really, number one, put you around really, really good people. Number two, give you just a new zest for life. And it's like, we talk about you're the sum of all the people that are around you, okay? When you have all gone through something, the bond gets that much closer. When you have gone through all those mile marker 18s, the bond that I have with Doug is unbreakable, right? I see on this picture people that are going through their mile marker 18s and dominating their mile markers 18s and saying, I'm not going to be defined by that mile marker 18. Run because it's worth it to be in a picture like this. Run maybe because a grandma, probably in her 60s, bedazzled from head to toe, is passing you, speed walking. I wish I could show you. I don't know if this video could show you, like moving her hips left and right, just passing me, like going left and right. She's like passing me, and I'm like, she did not just do that. She did not just do that. And she passed me, and he humbled me, right? Guess what? You probably have someone that you started at the same time with the business and they passed you. Who cares? Who cares? P.S. I did pass her a mile down the road. I wasn't going to let her pass me that way. So I'm just saying. Or run because you have someone that looks up to you. Someone that you want to inspire someday to live her or his full life. Maybe someone that is not only listening to what you're saying, but seeing how you conduct yourself and see how you live yourself. And to me, when you look at Beachbody and what he does, it's going to challenge you, it's going to push you, but you're going to grow as a result of it, and you're going to grow wiser and stronger and better. And when I take me out of the picture and I look at my daughter Olivia, I say it's worth it. So I'm going to ask all of you guys to really think about this and get back to your places where you meditate or pray or make a decision and ask yourself, is it worth it? To me, for all those reasons and so many more reasons, it's absolutely worth it. In my 4 years here, I've seen way too many people change their lives that I can sit here and look you in the eye and say it's absolutely worth it. But we have to be willing to, just roll up our sleeves, go past those mile marker A teams that are going to show up, do the fundamentals, get around people that are going to uplift us and encourage us, like these people that are on this team call, that are taking time out of their busy schedules to be on a call here today, and do whatever it takes. To reach their goals. So thank you to all of you. I look forward to celebrating all of you at Summit in Nashville, or at a Super Saturday, or at the New Leader Conference, or maybe at Leadership. I appreciate the invitation, Joan and Ryan, and just truly appreciate this team. It's someone asked me the other day, it's like, you recognize my name. I can't believe you recognize my name. There's so many people you recognize. And I go, I just recognize the people that stand out. And this team stands out. And so thank you again, Crockers, for having me. I'll toss it back to you. And let's go out there and run.
Thank you so much. I don't know about any, but that was like exactly what I needed tonight. And like that positivity, I came over, like we're at my grandmother's parents' house to get quieter since there were kiddos at the house next door. And honestly, I was like, I don't feel very good. And now I feel fantastic. And it's because of that awesome positive call. And so I thank you so much for taking the time to do that.
Thank you. I will let you finish your call. Have a great night, and we'll see you on Facebook. If we're not yet connected, please add me. I'd love to connect with you guys.
Thank you, Arnauld.
Thanks, Arnauld.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Bye. So I can unmute you guys. My computer's going to die in like 5 minutes, but quickly I'll unmute you. So let me stop recording.